Hi there, this is Derek from Pacific Coast Auto in Japan. We're here looking at a Toyota Soarer, this one here 2.5 GT-T, Toyota's Grand Tourer for the gentleman driver. Comes with a 1JZ 2.5 liter inline 6-cylinder single turbo version. If you've noticed, this is the later model, also known as the Koki version of the car. And so this is from late 1996 on. You got the single turbo version of the 1JZ instead of the twin turbo. And the single turbo actually is the better of the two. You get a lot more torque, way lower down, and then you also have the convenience of a single turbo, so you don't have to worry about the complexities of the dual system. This is simpler, nicer, better fuel economy, more powerful, even if it's just torque. Apparently this was still during the quote-unquote gentleman's agreement era, where 280 horsepower was the max, but that's just kind of joking, because this one does feel quite a bit more powerful than the original twin-turbo version of the 1JZ that was in this, the earlier model of this, as well as in the Toyota Supra here in Japan. The Mark III Supra got the 1JZ. Okay, we're just going to check the condition of the car and compare it to the auction inspection sheet. This one here is bought from auction here in Japan. Here's the auction sheet. Yes, it is the original one. It's going over to Baltimore in the USA, and we'll just check the condition before it goes over there. Okay, so first off, there are a few aftermarket parts on the car. Not an awful lot, but there are a few. There's HKS pod style air filter. You do want to change these foam every once in a while, because otherwise your engine will eat it. It's not going to hurt the engine too much to combust some of that, but good to change it anyway. Timing belt was changed in 2015 and 100,000 kilometers. Now that's something that the sellers usually mention, but they didn't in this case, so it is a bonus. It's nice too, because if you buy a car with 138,000 kilometers like this one here, and it has no note on here about the timing belt being changed, that means you probably have to change it pretty soon. Here, saved $1,000 on the change. Excellent. Okay, the oil looks good and the coolant looks good, and we have a aftermarket carbon fiber, or at least carbon fiber wrapped strut tower bar. Yes, it is just an aluminum Cusco one, not carbon fiber. Okay. Oh, and one other thing, there's like a LED driver light kit or something. Some sort of an aftermarket lighting kit. Now I'll close the hood here. Okay, and I left the door open here. The door actually doesn't open from the outside handle. So one of the defects on this car, amongst a few other things. It is a 25-year-old car after all. Quick look at the analog gauge set. Kind of analog, digital gauge set. Not analog, fully digital. When you rev it up, have a look. You get a cool little video game style gauge set. That was the same on all Soarers from the beginning. So the first generation, GZ10 maybe? Not sure. This one here is a JZZ30. So it is a 30 series Soarer, the third generation. And they made 4 generations, but I think this is the one that most people like the most, unless you're really into the boxy earlier generations. But these ones are gorgeous, gorgeous cars. These used to be in my top 5 of cars. They might still be up there. I'm kind of a small car type of person now, and this is a fairly large Grand Tourer, heavy, powerful. I mean, powerful by 1996 standards, and more powerful if you want it to be. After all, there is a lot of tuning and knowledge support for tuning more out of this engine if you wanted it. If it were my car, I would leave it with the stock horsepower. It's just such a nice package and so lovely to drive. So let's go ahead and translate this. It's a 1996 Soarer 2.5 GT-T, auction grade 4 with an interior B, power steering, power windows, 138,835 kilometers. Still had current registration on it when it was sold, which is always a good thing. Here in Japan, the cars need to be inspected every 2 years and then fix anything that's broken. And it can be very expensive. I just had my brand new car, which is yet to be shown on the channel. Through inspection, it was $5,000 to fix everything that needed to be fixed. And I didn't even think it was that bad. It was just, yeah. Anyway, A-Tech 18-inch wheels. I don't know the brand A-Tech. They're not in great condition. I don't know if they are anything snazzy or anything. They look cool. maybe a good wheel to have on until you get something a little bit better, or if you don't really care about the wheels so much, it's just about the driving pleasure, you can keep those on, or use them as winter tires. Yeah, in Baltimore you still need winter tires, right? Kakimoto exhaust, and it is a catback. Check exhaust for aftermarket parts. The seller, or not the seller, that's me. The buyer wanted to know specifically about the exhaust, so yeah, it is just the catback. It does sound pretty awesome though. Aftermarket suspension, I checked it, it's Tane suspension, even though they have a badge on the back for RSR, which is another suspension brand. It isn't that. Aftermarket air filter, aftermarket steering wheel. Engine is a 1JZ model, iconic, very, very lovely engine. I don't know, 1JZ and 2JZ, they're both so good. You want a 2JZ, it's a little bit more powerful, of course. The 1J is also a very, very good engine. Spare key, and driver's side power window doesn't work very well. It kind of gets a creaking sound when you put it up and down. And this was also a note from the seller of the car before they sent it to auction. So kind of weird for them to mention that, because the report didn't mention anything about that. And then it says other aftermarket parts on there. The report here says interior is dirty, has wear and cigarette burn. There's one cigarette burn on the driver's seat. I'll show you when we get in there. Aftermarket wheels are scraped, which usually is one level above scratched. And yeah, they are pretty bad. All along the rims, there's nothing on the spokes. And then various scratches, dents. And this note here, it says driver's side door lock doesn't work. This is like kind of a misreport. It's really that the door doesn't open at all. The locking system works fine, but I guess they didn't look at it enough to figure out exactly what it was. You try to open the door and nothing. It acts like it's locked. You can open it from the inside, but the door actually isn't locked at the moment. And so the only way to get in is to go in from the other side and pop it. This, if you're the buyer of this, listen up. This is something we could get fixed here in Japan before the car ships if you want. You'll have to talk to your sales rep about when this car is likely to be shipped, and if you've got time to do that before the car does get shipped. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Maybe you want it done here, maybe you want to do it yourself when the car lands. Okay, so the report here says A2 on the front bumper, which in my opinion is actually not as bad as they made it sound like it was. A2 on the back bumper, maybe about the same, and then A2 on the side skirt here. Most of those aren't that bad. I highlighted them there because they look like they were the biggest parts of damage. It is a grade 4 after all, it's not going to have that much damage. But this one here says AU1, which is a really small dent, which normally, it doesn't bother me much if it has a few dents in the sides that are really small. A lot of times you can't even see them at all. But in this case, because they're all grouped together, you can see them more. So that becomes kind of the biggest issue. If you look in this area, you've got like a series of 5 of them all together. Another one here, and another one here. So this fender needs some TLC. You might be able to get away with unpainted repair, but it kind of, because of the shape of them, it kind of looks like you might have to get it done at a body shop. And there are some more dents like that in other places in the body. Probably all around, I would say more than 10, but less than 15 of those little dents. Okay, so let's do the once around so you can see it from all the different angles. I actually was convinced that this was going to be the first car that I owned in Japan when I moved here because I absolutely adored them. In the USA, this is called or USA and Canada where I come from, it's called an SC400 or an SC300, and either comes with a non-turbo 2JZ engine, which puts out 215 horsepower, or it comes with the same engine as the Lexus LS400, which is 4-liter quad-cam V8 that puts out 260 horsepower. Japan got the better engine. The 1JZ is better than both of those engines, even though they are really good engines. And you can get them here with a manual transmission. In the States, you can't get the V8 with a manual, and the inline 6 can very rarely come with a manual transmission. This one is an auto, by the way. And manuals will cost you about 3 times as much. I think it's a fantastic car with a manual, but as far as cars with automatics go, this one's comfortable and, you know, kind of a heavy car, which makes it good for cruising. And a well-matched engine, so it doesn't feel slow because of the weight. Okay, so front bumper here, we have some flex cracks in this area, as well as some minor, like, shallow scratches, like someone with jeans on was walking by it. Okay. Some more scratches down here, and these are the A2s. They're all kind of out of the way. There's a little bit of a weird paint blemish here. Okay. And the headlights are a little bit yellowed. Okay, down here we've got some scuff on the fog light here, as well as it continues a little bit there. Some scuff here, and you may be able to clean some of this up by polishing it, but do be careful polishing a car, especially on the bumpers, because the bumper paint tends to get like shallower faster than the metal paint on a lot of cars. So I don't even know if a paint depth gauge would work on a plastic bumper, does it? Somebody knows. This is the Soarer's logo. It's a griffin? I don't know. I don't know mythological creatures. Okay, I told you about the dents here. Big scrapes basically all the way around on there. Also, you have lock nuts on here. I hate lock nuts on wheels, partially because in Japan theft is very, very uncommon for car parts. And because of that, you know, people put those lock nuts on, then they lose the lock nuts. And then we don't find out until Derek wants to get some new tires on a car before it exports because there's a puncture. And then suddenly we don't have the lock nuts or need to lift up the suspension. Luckily for this one, it doesn't need a lifted up suspension before it exports. But some of those slam to the ground cars typically will need that before we can export them. Okay, flex cracks in the bumper there. This being a late model, oh, let me just show you a couple of things styling wise. You get an extra grille in the front for the late model ones. So this grille here doesn't exist on the early models. That's one of the ways that you can tell. Of course, you can put an aftermarket bumper on to have that if you want. This spoiler is exclusive to the late model ones. The early model ones are either spoilerless or have just a lip with no underneath, I guess. And the tail lights are different. These ones are separate with a little inset chrome piece. You know, people used to always talk about those chrome looking lights and call them Altezza lights because Altezza's had the chrome with the inset gauge. These are roughly the same style, plastic cover on top of an inset gauge. And which car was it the first that had that? I can't recall. I know it wasn't the Altezza, but I think it was something Toyota that did that. Okay, there's your Kakimoto exhaust. And the underside is spick and span, as you can see. And wow, look at that exhaust. What a great sound these cars make, too. Okay, I can't get in there, so I'm going to go in here. And check out how the doors open. This is a Mercedes-Benz thing that Toyota kind of took. It's double hinged, so the whole door comes forward from the fender 3 inches or so. Or 5-ish centimeters, 5.5. It's complicated, makes the door rather heavy, but the purpose of this is to give you a little bit more room to get out because the door is so long, it's easy to hit another car beside you with it. Okay, door cards for these are all gone, so if you break one, they can be really, really hard and expensive to get. These ones are secure. They unfortunately come loose, and when you yank on it, it can get loose. The driver's one is good. Just be careful with it. Okay, lots and lots of room for the front passengers, not very much room for the rear passengers. It is a Japanese GT car, after all. Got a little bit dirty seats in the back here. This one has the black interior, which seems like it's the rarer of the two colors, of the beige/black. A little bit of coffee stains there. And that seat is in the full back position, giving you that much room. Let's have a look. Not much room for feet in there. I did it. I can't undo it. Uh-oh. Okay, aftermarket component speakers on the top. That's something that used to be really, really popular in the 1980s and 90s and has since become very unpopular to do. Cigarette burn on the back of the seat. Weird. Oh, the cigarette burn in the seat is right here. And it's not through the fabric, which is nice. It's not the worst in the world. And the interior of this one doesn't smell like cigarettes. If you see one that says headliner dirty or interior has cigarette burns, like the auction sheet of this one said, you can kind of assume the interior is going to smell like cigarettes. But in this case, not so much. Head over to the other side. I got another car to shoot before the sun completely goes down. I just remembered. Where are we at? 15 minutes. These videos are supposed to be max 15 minutes. Okay, so steering wheel is not really my jam. But you can replace it with whatever steering wheel that you want, really. Driver's seat here has a little bit of sag in it. You can see in this area here. It's really not that bad. Still feels quite comfortable. And it's a nice, comfy GT seat. Much better than Supra seats. The Soarer really is the kind of the Supra for people that think that the Soarer is Supra is the Soarer. They both start with S. Is the car that is for people who want the performance of the Supra, except don't want to have the garish, sporty looks. They want something a little bit more refined. This here looks like a magnetic thing to hold a phone, but you would need the second piece. You don't want to actually just put your phone on there, it won't work. Okay, shifting is good on it. Doesn't have any warning lamps on it. Really barely any wear on here for being 25 years old. An aftermarket Navi unit. Cup holder that flips out. You also get a secondary cup holder down here. It's 12-ounce can or 355ml can size. As we know, it has been smoked in. There is a little bit of ash remnant in there, but not that much, leading me to believe that the previous owner was not a smoker. Okay. Oh, I don't know if I checked for the AC on this one. I may have. So it has some blue lighting that's been put in here and in there, aftermarket. Turbo gauge and water temp gauge. And yes, the AC does work. Push button here instead of a latch for the glove box. And I guess cup holders there. I wonder if anyone actually uses them. I think the early models didn't have the dual airbag, but I can't remember. They started in like, what? 91? 89? No. I don't know. I can't remember anymore. All the things that I've lost in my brain. Plenty of car knowledge. Even though it's a black interior, it still has non-black floor mats, and they actually have flower prints on them. You can see better. Or leaves? Leaves? Yeah. And you've got this, which actually is a little bit annoying that it does that. Okay, trunk. You get a pop here. It is not new car style, so there is no latch on the back. Even though Toyota was making latches on the back way back when. Actually, that's not that much different from this one in terms of age. That's an 80 series. Okay, it has the dealer optional extra Soarer mat, which is nice. It does have the imprint of a wheel on there. Open this up, and you get a set of jumper cables, a space saver tire, all the tools exist, and the health pack, medic pack exists. No signs in the back of any accident or any rust, no mold, doesn't smell weird. Okay, and reasonable sized trunk. It is not sedan, a 3-box, hood, roof, and trunk. You don't get as much room inside as you do with a modern car that is crossover or whatever you want to call it, SUV. Yeah, okay, Toyota Soarer. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you stuck around this long, that's weird because it's a 20-minute video about this car, but good for you. Maybe you're doing something else in the meantime like I do when I watch videos. That's all for now. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much, and have a nice day.